Thank you very much, Dr. Camille, for introducing my talk. They say never talk after a great speaker. So I had two great speakers in front of me, and my work now is to get to more specifics of quality management and quality control. So basically, I will start with this slide, which is introduction of our Center for Disease Control Office of the Associate Director for Laboratory Science and Safety. This is a recently established entity at CDC. This entity took under control now basically the quality management implementation in the CDC infectious disease laboratory, diagnostic laboratories, and insurance of the safety in those laboratories. Basically what this office does is, the vision of the office is that CDC laboratories are the model for scientific excellence and safety, and the mission of this office is to support a strong culture of laboratory science and safety throughout through the leadership, collaboration training, and continuous quality improvement. The office is pretty strong. At this time, I think there are about 52 full-time employees who will take the leadership of implementing the quality system, quality management system in CDC laboratories. CDC laboratories do not implement quality management system under, until now, did not implement quality management system under the ISO accreditation requirements. In the United States, there is an institute, it's called Clinical Laboratory Standard Institute, CLSI, which provides the guidance to implementation of the quality management system, and that's our kind of ISO institute. However, lately there are attempts to harmonize the activities of the CLSI recommendations and under ISO, and start implementing and start accrediting CDC laboratories under ISO 15189 as clinical labs. So the role of the quality management system is basically, in order to define the role, I would use an example, because it's really a very, very big task to implement a quality management system. And in order to make it more understandable and more easy to have a dialogue, let's say, on implementation of the quality management system, I applied the quality management system to the example of a hepatitis C elimination program, for example. So what is the quality management system? Is a structured system by which the organization, which implements the implements the hepatitis C elimination program, directs the management of the laboratories throughout a coordinated set of activities in order to ensure the quality in the program. Of course, when you start a hepatitis C elimination program, that's a very, very serious, very big undertaking, and implementing quality management sometimes is not possible to do before you have the opportunity to start a hepatitis C elimination program, like for example in Georgia. And therefore, the implementation of the quality management system goes in steps and goes in fragments that are most important for a certain element in the work that is necessary to ensure the quality in the diagnostic, in the hepatitis C elimination program, for example. So, this is 12 quality system elements, or also known as QSEs, in the context of a hepatitis C elimination program. So basically, we have three big components of the QSEs. These are laboratory infrastructure, basically that's the organization, the institution which implements the program, the facilities and safety, the personnel, equipment, purchasing and inventory of the equipment and reagents, and information system. Very important things that needs to be in place in order to have a good operational laboratory. The next component is the quality assurance and improvement, and these are the assessments of the quality assurance, proficiency testing, and competency assessment of the personnel. Non-conforming event management, it's a very important thing, because if you have a problem in the lab, you have to document it. And if you have a problem tomorrow, you have to document it, and so on and so forth. At the end of the month, you put together all NCEs and you see what is your problem, what is generating this problem in your laboratory. If you don't document it, then you will have an answer, as I heard many times in laboratories that do not have quality management system. But I know that everything works fine, and everybody who did a laboratory assessment know this answer. So, and then the next component of the quality assurance is the customer focus. You have to keep in touch with your customers, with your clientele, with your physicians. And also continual improvement, which means you have sometimes to run some surveys, send some questionnaires and ask where your customer feels like you may need an improvement, and that will help you to get your laboratory to the next level. And then the third component is actual work in the laboratory, which is process management, which is standard operation procedures, and documentation and reporting. You probably, who works in a laboratory, know what is standard operation procedure. When people don't know what is a standard operation procedure, and they ask me, why do I need a standard operation procedure? I have the package insert from the kit. That's not the same thing. Standard operation procedure describes the activity, that every single step that you have to take in your laboratory to perform that particular assay. In what room to go, what equipment to use, how to validate the equipment, how to maintain the equipment, how to read the results, what printer to use, and so on and so forth. So everything is very, very standard. So basically I'm telling them, if tomorrow I need to change the whole lab and bring a new set of people in the lab, that new set of people has to open the standard operation procedure, read it, and be able to run the lab. So those are 12 quality system elements of quality management system. Why they are important in an elimination program? Because an elimination program consists of screening and blood safety. So screening and blood safety means that you will have to have laboratories everywhere in the country that will go to every single house and screen for hepatitis C or for HIV or for another infection that you are going to fight. Then you will have care and treatment, which is at the bottom here. And the care and treatment is basically the component where the information from the screening and blood safety goes, and people are taken into care and treated for certain disease. And then you have surveillance, because you need to see if your implementation works and it's efficient. And then you will have an outbreak response, so you need to control for the outbreaks and see if you have any outbreaks. You have to send people there and do investigations and see how provide laboratory support for outbreak investigations. Another activity is reference testing. You have to have a national laboratory where all the laboratories from different counties, from different regions of the country will send the specimens and for confirmatory testing, or will receive support to improve their activity. And of course you have the research part where scientists in the country will investigate issues that are most important for your program. One of the critical elements in quality management system is training of the personnel. There is a saying that the personnel resolves everything. If you have good trained people, then those people will be able to generate, to coordinate and do their activities in a proper manner. So this is an example where we trained people in the Russian Far East. We had a project there where we developed the hepatitis reference laboratory in 2007, and before the training we gave them a pre-test, and they responded, and they had 66% not acceptable results, answers. And then after 4 days of theoretical and practical training, we gave them the same questionnaire, and they answered. 69% of them had excellent results, and 25% were good, and only 6% were not acceptable. So, the most frontline test in a hepatitis C elimination program is the screening test, or point of care rapid testing. So the quality of the rapid testing is very important in such a program. And what is the quality in the rapid testing? The quality is when clients receive the accurate test results within a reasonable time period based on availability of the test kits in your program and supplies, condition of test kits, collection and handling of the specimens, standard test procedure followed, and interpretation reporting of the results. As you can see here, everything is not just the rapid test. Everything that a laboratory does works with that rapid test. It's like you take a test and you plug it into a laboratory, and everything here, from sample collection, sample processing, recording of the results, everything has to work harmoniously with this rapid test and produce accurate results for the clients. This process is called quality assurance cycle. In order to have a good quality assurance cycle, you have to have a cycle. And the cycle starts with planning, then development of your documentation, your procedures, implementation and training of the personnel, monitoring and review of the results by a manager in the laboratory or supervisor, providing the feedback and corrective actions to the laboratory, and improvement of the process. This is the quality assurance cycle. Why the quality assurance cycle is important for the rapid testing? It's important because it ensures that the correct test results are provided to the client. Providers means to prevent, detect and correct the errors, and reduces the cost. Even simplest, we call it clear waived point of care rapid test is not foolproof, because the rapid test is done by people, and people usually make mistakes sometimes. Or rapid test is produced by a manufacturer which cut corners and make a bad test. So what are the components of the quality assurance to make sure that the results that are coming from your laboratory are as expected? You have, first of all, safety is the first, always. Safety is first. You have to make sure that the personnel in your laboratory work in a safe environment and does not produce harm to environment itself. Then the quality control in the laboratory, and then record keeping has to be accurate, maintained, and whenever 2 years later you can go back to the records and find the results that were released to a certain client. External quality assessment and other things, like for example inventory of your tests. Now this is the internal part, okay? This is the quality control in your laboratory. However, you have another quality assurance in the laboratory. You have another component which is called external quality assurance. And external quality assurance is basically when you go to somebody and say, tell me, how am I doing? Because, you know, we tend to get very confident about ourselves and say, oh, you know what, I'm doing fine. For 2 years I never had any errors and anything like that. But it's better when you have an external assessor, and usually this, for the testing, this is called proficiency testing. Or it could be a retesting. When you do the time? Okay. Okay. When you have, when you can split the samples and send the samples to another laboratory and you can exchange. Okay, so next, who is responsible for the quality? Everybody in the lab is responsible for the quality. I will not go through the elements, that's clear. What are the 3 phases of the testing? The 3 phases of the testing is pre-testing, or sample collection, labeling, accessioning, and so on and so forth. Testing itself, which is called analytical phase, and the post-testing, or release of the results, producing the results and release them to the clients. Why do errors occur in the laboratory? Well, errors in the laboratory occur when people don't know what they are doing. People don't know who is responsible for what, and that's when they stay idle and they don't do their job. When there is no written procedures, or procedures are not followed, when the training is not done or not completed, and so on and so forth. So, to prevent pre-testing errors, there is a checklist that you have to follow, and I will skip this, but it's a thorough checklist which ensures that the specimens are properly collected, labeled, and accessioned in the laboratory. How to prevent testing errors? How to prevent testing errors? You have to have standardized equipment in the lab, number 1, because the correct volume of the specimen that you take with your pipette or with your liquid handler have to be accurate. If you take more or less, then the result is not going to be as expected. There is a certain required waiting time for testing, and presence of controls line or dot in the rapid test. And then when you have invalid results, you have to know how to troubleshoot the results. And for all of that, you have to have written procedures. How to prevent post-testing errors? This is done to ensure the test results are recorded accurately and clearly, and you have to follow the standards for recording that results, and periodic supervisory review has to be done to the records in the lab. Quality control and standards. So basically, I will skip this. And what is the quality control? The quality control is the monitoring of the quality of the test itself, and the requirements are internal for the controls of the testing that is being done in the lab, and then external is the control of known disease status provided by an external source, which is basically proficiency testing. Proficiency testing is done several times a year. Usually it's a 3 times a year program, and after each proficiency testing session, you receive from the College of American Pathologists, in our case, or from another source of standard proficiency testing material, you receive a summary report which will tell you how your laboratory works in comparison to other 250 or 1,000 laboratories in your country. How often you have to do it? As I said, it has to be once a week. At the beginning of the week, new shipment of the test kits, new lot number of the kits, or when environmental conditions exceed the range needed for stability of the kits. There is a procedure for the troubleshooting of the QC results, and I will skip it in the interest of saving the time. And there is another very important moment is the stock management or inventory of reagents. So you have to have a certain area which is well maintained for storage of your tests that are in stock, and then you have testing area where you keep the tests that are used at the time during the day. Another element is how to manage the stock. The stock has to be managed in the following order. First of all, when you receive the kit, you have to record when the test was received. You have to make sure that you pay attention to the lot. You have to make sure that the company didn't send you an expired kit, and so on and so forth. Okay. And another very important element in the stock management is the you have to use the test with the shortest expiration date first, and then the longest later. The reporting of the results has to be accurate, sample acquisition, recording in the laboratory information system, accurate transfer and matching of the results, regular appropriate quality control, review, timely reporting, and turnaround time monitoring, periodic client feedback, and customer survey. And here I'm going to give you 3 examples of errors that occur in the laboratory. The first example is an error in the pre-analytical phase. This was an outbreak, basically an investigation of infection that occurred as a result of transplantation of an organ, which was accidentally improperly labeled, and the test result came out negative, but the actual organ was from a positive person. And there was a number of recipients who received the infected material. So this is a pre-analytical phase error. Another error is in analytical phase. As we say, quality is simple, people are difficult. Because this laboratory never assessed competency, never verified the test, never participated in proficiency testing program, and they always said, oh, but my controls work just fine. And my question is, can we trust that positive result in such laboratories true positive, or maybe it's not true positive? So basically, one sample from hepatitis B patient was given to this laboratory 10 times, and this laboratory tested this sample, and these are actually concordance. In out of 10, only 3 times the laboratory produced proper results that were concordant with the reference result. So basically, the patients were lucky only if they were on the day 2, day 8, and day 9. Otherwise, is not very good. So, and post-analytical errors, they occur when improperly stored requisition forms are not available for cross-checking at the result reporting, when manual data entry is practiced in the laboratory and there are errors because there is no barcode system and no limbs, and similar IDs, there is no use for the second ID number, and so on and so forth. And thank you very much for your attention, and I apologize, Dr. Camilli, for taking a little bit more time. I kind of thought that first presentation was short enough so I can benefit